Hello, everyone. It's Chris Kate again, having another podcast here with the one and only David Emmer. So David, you're the CIO of one of the biggest accounting firms in the world. What are you seeing out there? You're in New York City too. I'm on the West Coast in Vancouver. Talk to me. What are you seeing change these days?
Things are definitely not slowing down, and definitely from an AI perspective is definitely not slowing down. Things are speeding up, if you will.
I'm seeing. Someone told me that they're seeing some companies slowing down their AI initiatives because of security concerns. What would you say if someone said that to you?
So I think that it's important to be able to be thoughtful with any technology and considering the regulations and considering the governance around it. But I wouldn't necessarily slow down. I would just make sure that you have a framework that you're following. It's important to keep pace because if you're not, then someone else is.
Hmm. Would you say that the pilots and projects you've done, are you winning? Are you guys progressing? Like what's the word we would use here for investment into AI?
So for the projects that we've done, I would say that we are succeeding, but we started with specifically trying to define what success looks like, making sure that those requirements are being captured and that there's a true ROI associated with any project that we're doing. We're not trying to throw noodles at the wall and hope that they stick. We're
Right.
going in very thoughtful on these projects.
Right. A couple weeks ago I had Chris Mintzel on my podcast. He's a scientific researcher and he looked at the future of the financial sector. I know it's not accounting, but like legal, accounting, professional services like us at Sasbury, the world is going to change. He was projecting 85% of the future financial revenues are going to be removed from them. And so they have to get really good at the 15 to 20% that are still going to be there and creating that niche, that moat around what they do to bring more value to their customers. Are you seeing similar type of disruption in the accounting industry?
I think the operating models are going to have to change, where it used to be married to the billable hour.
Yeah,
Now it's really more about outcomes, business insights, those conversations with clients.
interesting. So the same way I would approach my customers about how outcome is on then aligning AI to do that. That's where you see professional services also doing that. Like the outcome of having all my year ends all completed. The outcome of is that how you see the future of billing possibly shifting too?
Yeah, it's going to be specific project based. So, do you need an audit? Do you need a tax return? Do you need advisory work? It's going to be specific around the value that you're providing to the client versus how long it took you.
Hmm. Yeah, that is interesting. I'm starting to see my own accounting firm do that as well. What do you think? Like right now, I talk to CEOs. Oh, actually, let me step back. I'm working with the CIO right now at a St. Louis. Uh, Very experienced with AI, new position in that company. They're in the mining industry and they're looking to start investing in AI. He's done nothing yet. This is a fresh new role of him in this organization. 200-year-old company, too, very traditional, haven't really leveraged tech, same type of delivery of their business for the last 2 centuries. How would you suggest? Because he said, look, I'm going to have to hire a manager of AI. And I always question like governance and the work and all of this process that needs to be done, but then that's slowing down the investment into AI. So how would you suggest to him if he was having a beer with you right now and he'd say, David, like, where do I start? What would you say to him?
Got to go in with a plan. So, I've broken down AI into three different pillars here. So, pillar one is around the generative AI, around the agents, agent orchestration, vibe coding. That's pillar one. Pillar two is going to be more around industry specific applications that are going to be solving either business issues or business opportunities. And then the third is really more transformative around applications that don't exist at all within the industry, where it's not off the shelf and you're going to build that to solve a business issue or create a business opportunity. So if I were to start, I would be focusing on that pillar one, get everybody in your company comfortable with generative AI, whether that's Copilot or ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini or fill in the blank, but get really, really good with that. And then the next level after that is to start getting people thinking at how we can do agents. And then you get into agent orchestration. And then after that, you're looking at vibe coding. So I think
Mhm.
that pillar one really needs to be addressed. Not every industry is going to have specific applications that are going to solve for an issue or resolve any sort of friction that might exist. So
So I've been talking to so many people and they'll talk about the tool. I want to use Claude. And it kind of goes back like for what? Goes back to the same thing, Dave. Like what is the outcome that you're wanting to achieve? And then we can talk tools how to get there. And I find that talking the tools before understanding the outcome is maybe not the right approach I'd suggest for my customers. And I'm still kind of learning as this goes on more and more. And, one of our wealth management customers, they had an analyst say, "Hey, I can just do this in Claude." And I kind of was sitting back looking at having that employee now building their own moat or their own value rather than the organization having a more enterprise one in there where they're now learning and enabling the employees. Well, how would you respond to what I just said there? Am I completely off on that, or is there some middle ground there?
So that pillar one that I was talking about, a lot of that's going to resolve friction, that's people's administrative burdens, things that are not rewarding work.
Hmm.
I wouldn't specifically start with which tool, because every organization is going to have a reason to choose a tool and go with that. But there's a lot of overlap on being able to train it and understand how to use it properly and how to continue to expand the usage of it. As far as making it more enterprise versus individual,
Hmm.
so I think it should be governed and it should be a pool of information that's being shared across. There is going to be an individual component to it because it's how you work. That said, what works for you might work for others. And if we can build something out that is going to be used by the majority of the firm, the idea that you came up with has now helped save hundreds of administrative hours
Hmm.
that is can be used on much more relevant and impactful work.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. We've been really, as you know, continuing our investment in the Microsoft stack. We're foundry engineering, harness engineers. And now I'm seeing like it's shifted from tools, right? Now to what I'll call model infrastructure agnostic, meaning that, like the infrastructure should support models that come up as they are new to the market, right? And over the last 3 months, when we build even our internal, because we're moving our own organization into our frontier development team, and the new challenge has been token costs. I think last year we got a little spoiled where we were all, just going with the top models for everything. And now when we build the Gentic, making sure that if it's just a minute task to put a an open model on there, so we're not getting billed for everything. And so token optimization, I guess we'll call it, is a big part of my own internal and my customers' challenges. Are you starting to see that now? Has there been a big change in your organization versus last year on some of the tools you used?
We had some people that are bumping up against the token costs. I think that there are ways to try to mitigate that, as you just mentioned, and going through and preloading skills that are there are definitely going to be one way to resolve that. But I heard recently the CEO from NVIDIA was talking about an AI engineer that he had that said that he spent $5,000 on tokens, and he was upset that he didn't spend 100,000. He goes, "You're a half
Yeah,
a million dollar resource. You should be really spending a lot of tokens." So it might be how we're looking at token usage
yeah.
based on what your role is, but it always is going to come down to that ROI and keeping that focus on that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny, I can't remember who the gentleman was on stage, he's pretty famous at Web Summit, and he had countered that. He said, "You know, we're seeing some of our engineers max out the tokens just to get that exposure to from higher levels too, right?" So it's an interesting thing. Have you, I mean, going back to your first step from back to that other CIO is, I think it's education, right? Get people to start learning. I know I'd mentioned before my Adrian Scott on my team, he wants me every Wednesday to say, what have I built in Codex? We don't even I don't even really use Codex. I'm a Microsoft shop. So we use, GBT through Copilot. But I'm doing that and he's doing that drill with me just so I get more familiar and not to be scared of actually doing some vibe coding, like you said, and that everybody can vibe code. Are you seeing that type of education rolled out to Ankin through your organization be beneficial? Like, are you educating your employees on that type of behavior? And is must be a big difference between older generation and new employees, younger generation on the adoption of these tools as well. Maybe you're seeing.
So the vibe coding is something that we're not seeing as much of within the organization. There are some that are, and we are trying to make sure that the vibe coding is still done within the framework because there's risks to vibe coding. There's a lot of there's bad programming, there's security risks. So we got to make sure that if something is being vibe coded, which is important because somebody who's from the business side, they know what's missing within their application. They know what they needed
Yeah.
to operate more efficiently. So we're okay with it as long as it's within that framework. So once something has been vibe coded, we'll run it through a dev cycle, run it through user acceptance before it hits production, making sure that secure coding practices are being followed and just making sure that the best practices are being followed.
Yeah. A lot of my UI UX employees and friends, they're doing vibe coding to even create up with a prototype and now for the development team. And so it's changed quite a bit in the past. But let me ask you a question. If you only had 50 grand this year to spend on AI, what if that was it for your budget from now until the end of Christmas or your year end? What would you do? Where would you put that 50 grand?
I'm gonna answer that loaded question with a loaded answer.
Okay.
So I'm not gonna start with what the cost is because
Hmm.
generally, if we're going back to an ROI,
Hmm.
the project will pay for itself,
There we go.
right? We're not doing AI for the sake of AI. We're doing AI because it's solving a business issue. We're doing AI because it's creating an opportunity. The cost of whatever that is, it gets paid for within that solving.
Super exciting, David, to hear you say that because that's a challenge I've had with three other accounts right now. We've invested in version one, proof of concept, succeeded. And now IT, the VP or CIO says, I need the business to pay for it. Has that been a challenge with you guys as well, where you've taken IT budget out, proven something will work? And then you now, because you just said that ROI might be within 12 months. And I think it should be. Every ROI use case I've been doing has been under 12 months, seems like recently. Is that what you do? You go to the business, or who do you go at after that point to continue the investment to roll it out to the enterprise?
So our firm has always been a firm that's invested intelligently within technology, and I've been very lucky to work with some great people here that have allowed me to continue to do that.
Hmm.
They understand the value of technology, and they want to invest as long as we're following those principles. So if we come to them and show them, okay, this is going to cost $200,000, just show me the ROI.
Really? That's really exciting, David. I think that's a topic that seems to be most asked from leadership I'm hearing now. At a municipal conference, they went around and said, "What's the biggest challenges with AI?" And it's like, how to even do budgeting, how to manage budgeting, right? So you're basically your job or your division, your responsibility, prove out that this use case has an ROI, present it to leadership, and then typically if the ROI is there, they allow you or grant you the budget to roll it out.
So I'm working alongside the business to be able to build out the business case. It's not
Right,
technology projects, it's a business project.
right.
And with that, we're working alongside building out the business case, including the ROI.
Okay, that's good. So IT and the leadership of the business division, you and that other leader would then take that case to leadership and say, "Look, this is some of the use cases we want to invest in, and here's the ROI business case." And that's typically how funding. So you're co delivering that now with the business side of things because I've seen in the past 30 years of my career the business and IT not necessarily on the same talking tracks, and I think with AI that we have to be now.
So I've been very lucky at Anchin that we have always worked really tightly and closely with the business. So it's a matter of investing wisely and making sure that we're following the best practices that have been laid out.
Mhm. That's awesome. What's one thing that AI will never replace at Anchin that you could see? Is there something that you could easily identify?
In the end, the judgment of a human, the responsibility that falls onto a human when a decision needs to be made, will never fall to AI. Right. So you might be able to come up with more decisions and talk through different opportunities and plan it out and have conversations with the AI. But in the end of the day, that decision has to be made and the responsibility falls on a human.
Yeah.
That's not something that can ever be replaced.
Yeah, I think that the customer decision and relationship too, right? I think at the end of the day we all want to do business with people that we trust and we get to know, right? And so I think that that component will never be replaced by AI. Have you seen companies creating digital employees these days, like adding to their workforce from like agents or digital employees?
There's definitely pieces of digital employees that are being deployed across different firms. That comes back down to the orchestration, the agent orchestration. There has to be a specific use case that's causing the agent to be created. It's solving or having other agents orchestrate other agents.
Yeah,
But it's definitely happening.
yeah. I think that it's absolutely happening. I think the media always likes to hype it up. Whether that we can afford it today, we know we're going to be affording it very soon, and it will be pretty much standard in all of our organizations. You know, I'm also seeing CEOs talking about having one employee managing these agents. I picture like a Star Trek Enterprise where someone's just managing a whole bunch of agents. And I haven't that's what I see in my brain, the future coming of. I haven't seen organizations actually having that in place yet. I don't know if you've seen anything like that and what your thoughts about that future of
So I think that some of it has existed for many years with robotic processing. You have the human in the loop. Now you have the agents dealing with a lot of that processing with human in the loop. So it definitely does exist, and we'll start seeing more of it, where you have that human who's helping orchestrate it. That's that agent orchestration. That's that level 3 of that pillar 1 that I was talking about
Mhm.
earlier.
Yeah. I had a friend the other day get I'm throwing out stuff to my hockey group. Like we sponsor a league and we've got a team and a lot of the individuals are coming up for retirement and stuff. And when I'm talking AI all the time, it's a mix. Some people are super excited and use it. Some are avoiding it and some actually are angry at it. And I had one guy say, my daughter was just in an interview and they were asking her about AI. She didn't get the job. It's all about AI that's taking jobs already. And I was thinking about that because, if you look back when I left programming school in 1991, they still asked me what kind of languages I knew how to write code in. And I was listening to him and it seemed like he had anger in him for them asking AI. So I'm assuming that your organization and every HR person now asks their skills on AI. What would you say to your buddy if he said that to you? Look, she already lost a job because she didn't know how to answer these AI tool questions the HR person was asking.
I think people are looking for understanding of AI. Again, there's those different pillars, but
Yeah,
definitely focusing on pillar one with the generative AI and even with the agents, which is that second level. People should become comfortable with it. People should be
yeah,
able to talk how they're leveraging it. Every company, every person at every company, every level, everyone should be really leveraging. Definitely for sure, pillar one, level one, which is the
yeah,
agents, the generative AI.
yeah. Yeah, we had a bunch of protests in Vancouver recently about the data centers they're putting in sovereign data centers in Vancouver, Toronto, and Alberta. And I don't think that 99% of the people marching in that really understand. I mean, they believe it's going to take all the water and it's going to be like very bad for the environment. So I'm seeing an uproar of people where when we have dialogue and understanding that there's been data centers in our neighborhood for the last 30 years already, it's quite confusing. But what's one prediction you have about AI that maybe most people could disagree with?
So my prediction is that an AI will not primarily create the technology advantage. It will create a management advantage. Right. Most of the companies will eventually have access to the similar tools, the
Hmm.
platforms, capabilities. The real
Hmm.
difference is going to be coming from the leaders that can design work, build trust, improve data quality, establish appropriate governance, and really help the employees adopt the new ways of operating. The AI will become the commodity. The ability to lead through it will become the competitive advantage.
Yeah, I agree with you on that fully. And okay, 3 years from now, what will people wish they had started doing today?
Making sure that people are looking at their data, looking at their workflows around AI, and not just trying to bolt AI on as a technology. Right now, many organizations are focused around access, buying tools, launching pilots, encouraging
Hmm.
employees to experiment. But that's not necessarily the starting point that's going to really make the big change. The real value comes when companies examine how the work is moving through the organization, asking better questions, which steps are creating value, where does friction exist, where can AI automate, accelerate, or improve, where is human judgment remaining central. The companies that fall behind will not be the ones that chose the wrong AI tool. They'll be the ones that waited too long to redesign.
Waited too long. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. David, it's a pleasure having you today, and I really appreciate you taking the time to meet with us. David's, send him a LinkedIn request at David Emmer at Anchin, New York. And the posts that David does, I always love reading. I think that a lot of you out there that are exploring and predicting the future as best as we can would like to debate and talk about David's posts. Thank you so much. I know you've got some major changes coming at Anchin. I hope that's all successful. And I hope to be in New York soon so I could take you out for dinner and meet you in person, David. I really appreciate your time. And thanks for being a guest on our podcast today.
Thank you very much for having me.